Greetings, traveler. Back in the day, we used to have cheat codes for games. We used to be able to do a short sequence of button clicks and something unusual would happen in the game. But this doesn't happen so much. So today, I want to give two reasons why I think this has happened. My name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 10 years now, and I've been playing video games ever since I can remember, really. And back when I was a kid, of course, there was no internet to find about cheat codes, so we used to get that information from game magazines. So in Greece, there was this magazine called GamePro. I would look so forward to buying it each month, and as soon as I bought it, immediately I would skip to the page with all the new cheat codes they would share with the readers. And I remember that that page had so much more value to me as a kid gamer back then than all the other reviews and opinions about the games and all of that put together. So why did this phenomenon stop? Why did such a fun thing go away? And it makes me wonder as well. When I make games, I don't think anymore about cheat codes. So thinking about that, let's just jump into the two reasons why I think cheat codes are not a thing anymore. Well, reason number one, of course, is mods. So if you can find a mod to do basically anything you could possibly imagine in the game, alter its look, alter its content, make you jump to any moment in the game, make you as strong as you want, change your appearance in whatever way you want, then, well, that's all a cheat code could do anyway for you. So having the game have only so many cheat codes available versus having the modders do any change they like basically into the game becomes a bit of a moot point. So I think that's one of the two big reasons why cheat codes disappeared. The other one, and this one comes from me and my experience developing games professionally, is, well, I'm not sure how people used to think about cheat codes back in the day and this type of additional content, but in modern day games industry, especially for bigger companies, you have to be very deliberate with the content you make. It's not very often the case where someone says, oh, let's add dinosaurs to our car racing game. It's a bit far from the main point of the game. And that's not to say that wouldn't be fun or it wouldn't be interesting to anyone. But nowadays there is a focus on the product first, right? So if let's say we're working on a car racing game, then you would want to make that experience as good as possible. Unless that happens, it would be detrimental to start chasing all these side quests and like added content if the main one is not as solid and as good as possible. So the way development happens most of the time in the modern day, basically just about everybody I've ever known in the games industry says, well, if we had 6 more months, 2 more years for the game, we could make it so much better. I personally have never met someone who said, you know what, this game we develop, that was it. It's done and it's finished and there's not a single line of code we could add to that. I personally haven't met anyone like that. So that kind of goes to explain why there is no added focus on the cheat codes, I suppose. By the way, you should be able to see a subscribe thing down here. So click it while you hear me talk. So, and I think about it more. And I think, well, let's say we did add cheat codes to games and we did add this additional content. Well, I think there's like 3 types of cheat codes. There's the one that changes the appearance of your character or the appearance of something in the game. There's one that lets you skip to a different part of the game. And this is mainly like an impromptu save feature, the way games used to use it back in the day. Since there was no save system in those games back then, you could enter a code and jump to the 5th level or the 10th level of the game and so on. And the last type is the type of cheat code that makes you as strong as possible, right? Something like a god mode or a limited version of that. And I mean, it's not that all these things are not fun, right? Of course they're fun. But then you have to wonder, well, how many people will get to experience this additional content that we have to put into the game? Nowadays, we have to go through this extremely lengthy process of checking the robustness of the game, make sure that there's no bugs happening around the cheats themselves. or all this additional Easter egg kind of content. And if that type of content is not something that's going to be experienced and enjoyed by most of the players, then shouldn't we be putting more effort towards stuff that is going to be experienced by most players? And that, by the way, is the reason why you see the beginning of games and the tutorial part of games having typically way more quality and way fewer bugs than the remaining of the game. It's because the teams put more effort into it since they know that more people are going to experience it. So when you think about that content of the cheat codes and their nature of inherently being hidden, right? It wouldn't be a secret code or a cheat code if it was plainly available. It wouldn't feel the same way if it was just an option in the game options and it said, for example, let's click this option and all the characters get big heads because that's fun. That's not really a cheat code. That's that's an option. So it wouldn't feel the same way. It has to be hidden to be somewhat more interesting and exciting. And if it's hidden, that implies that most people are not going to see it unless they particularly hunt it down. And then let's think about that case as well, right? Let's say that someone does go through the extra effort of finding the cheat code, applying it in the right way in the game. Some of them are really obscure. You have to do like some movement pattern in the game and I don't know, do a triple backflip to get it to activate or whatever. So it's something inherently hidden. So a very, very small percentage of the player base is ever going to experience it. And even the ones that do go through the effort of discovering it will likely only get a few minutes worth of fun out of it, right? So think about it. Let's say you activate a cheat code that makes you extremely strong in the game. Well, that's only interesting for a few moments, because once the challenge dies in a game, what can you do with it? Everything becomes effortless. There's no reason to make a good strategy or to pick your equipment carefully and so on. You just defeat everything in one hit. It's not interesting anymore. If it's just about different looks, yeah, that has some value, but again, it's not going to drastically change the way the game behaves. And the type of cheat code that just makes you skip ahead in the game, well, yeah, we have save files for that reason nowadays, so I suppose that's not very meaningful either. So that being said, my favorite kind of cheat code in that sense is the one that unlocks more content for you, right? So fighting games like Mortal Kombat and so on come to mind, where you would input a sequence of buttons and you would unlock a character, and that character would be a fully fledged character, right? So that character would have a full list of moves. It would be a unique character. It would look different. I'm thinking of Smoke nowadays, although I think Smoke was accessible in the game if you played it normally as well. You had to do again a certain sequence, but anyway, so that's a type of an unlock that you do with a sequence of button presses, but it's going to give you way more enjoyment than, just a few minutes of novelty. It's a fully fledged character and you can enjoy them as much as possible, and it's a good experience. And then we go back to the value of content, a reason for cheats not being a thing anymore, where you think, well, if the team put so much effort into creating a whole new character with an original look and an original moveset and so on, what monetary sense would it make not to make it a main thing of the game? Why would you hide such a high quality asset, right? So again, this is not to say that it should never be done, but it's easy to see how, in the interest of creating a monetarily successful product, you would think, well, it's not that you shouldn't make this content, but if you make this kind of interesting additional content, you should make it as much as possible known to the players so that they can appreciate it more. Or, it can be available as a DLC, which is again something we see very commonly nowadays. So anyway, this is what my thoughts are on the topic of cheat codes. If you have something in mind, a cheat code that you used that's not in the categories I mentioned, please share it, because I'd love to know it as well. And I think more people would be interested to look into that. And until next time, have fun.